Professor Zalak stood at the front of his classroom, his blue skin shimmering with nervous energy. Today was special. The Galactic Academy was about to welcome its first human student. Humans came from Earth, a planet so dangerous that most aliens called it a death world. The professor's three eyes blinked rapidly as he checked his notes one more time. The classroom door slid open with a soft hiss. 20 alien students turned to look, their various appendages twitching with curiosity. A young human male walked in carrying a large glass box. He wore the standard academy uniform, but something about his confident walk made several students shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Hello, everyone," the human said with a smile. "I'm Jake Harrison from Earth." Professor Zelax's sensory tentacles quivered. "Welcome, Jake Harrison. Please take the empty seat in the third row." As Jake walked to his seat, the other students noticed movement inside the glass box he carried. Something was alive in there. The box had small holes for air and a heat lamp attached to the top. Whatever creature lived inside made soft rustling sounds against the glass walls. "What's in the container?" asked Rixtal, a student from Venlax Prime. Her translucent skin showed her purple blood pumping faster with anxiety. Jake set the box carefully on his desk. "Oh, this is Noodle. She's my pet." The word pet translated strangely in the aliens' language implants. Most galactic species kept small, harmless creatures for companionship. But Earth was different. Earth creatures were dangerous, even the smallest ones could kill. "May we see this?" "Noodle?" Professor Zalax asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Sure," Jake replied cheerfully. He opened a panel on the side of the box. The entire class gasped. Several students pushed their chairs back. Inside the box was a long, muscular creature covered in scales. It had no limbs, just a powerful body that coiled and uncoiled, its tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Two unblinking eyes stared at the horrified aliens. "This is a ball python," Jake explained, reaching into the box. "They're really gentle." Before anyone could stop him, Jake picked up the snake. The creature immediately wrapped itself around his arm. Its head rose up, looking around the classroom with interest. 3 students in the back row fainted. Please put it back," whispered a small, furry student named Bleak. His species evolved on a world where snake-like predators were their greatest fear. "Don't worry," Jake said, stroking the snake's head. "Noodle wouldn't hurt anyone. She's been my friend since I was 12. Professor Zalax's spots turned pale yellow, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "On your world, you keep predators as friends?" "Well, yeah," Jake shrugged. "Lots of people have snakes. They're actually pretty cuddly once you get to know them." The translator implants struggled with the word cuddly, applied to a creature that clearly evolved to strangle its prey. Several students looked like they might need medical attention. "But it has fangs," observed Korax, whose own species was herbivorous and had no natural defenses. "And it constricts prey. How do you sleep knowing such a creature is in your dwelling?" Jake laughed. "Noodle sleeps in her terrarium at night. Besides, ball pythons rarely bite humans. We're too big to eat." This explanation did not comfort anyone. The idea that the snake only avoided attacking because humans were too big suggested it would happily eat smaller beings. As Jake continued petting his snake, completely relaxed, the aliens watched in horrified fascination. This human, barely an adult by galactic standards, was casually handling a creature that would be classified as a Class 3 dangerous organism on most civilized worlds. Professor Zelax made a mental note to update his lesson plans. Clearly, understanding human psychology would require complete revision of everything they thought they knew about survival instincts. As the snake's tongue flicked out again, testing the air, the professor wondered what other pets humans might bring to campus. The first day of class with a human student was proving to be more educational than anyone had expected, and infinitely more terrifying. The next day, Professor Zalax had prepared a special lesson. Each student would present information about their home planet's environment. Most species came from peaceful worlds with small, harmless animals. When Jake's turn came, the entire class held their breath. Jake stood up and activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional image of Earth appeared floating above his desk. The blue and green planet looked beautiful, but the professor knew better. This was a death world. Earth has many different environments, Jake began. We have oceans, forests, deserts, and mountains. Each place has its own animals. He touched the display and the image changed. A massive creature with golden fur and sharp teeth appeared. It stood on 4 legs with a mane around its head. The hologram showed the creature roaring, revealing fangs as long as a student's arm. This is a lion, Jake said casually. They live in Africa. Some people call them the king of the jungle, but they actually live in grasslands. Rick's tall's transparent, skin turned completely clear, a sign of pure terror. That thing exists on your planet? Oh yeah, Jake nodded. And they're not even the biggest predators we have. Let me show you a bear. The image changed again. This time, a creature even larger than the lion appeared. It stood on its back legs, towering over the height of any student in the class. Its claws looked like knives, and its mouth could easily fit an alien's head inside. Professor Zelax's tentacles curled into tight spirals. These creatures, they hunt your people? Jake shook his head. Not usually. We've learned to live alongside them. Actually, some humans keep smaller versions as pets. The classroom fell completely silent. Even the air circulation system seemed to pause. I'm sorry, said Bleak, his fur standing straight up. Did you say pets? Sure, Jake replied, changing the display again. This time, it showed a human child hugging a large dog. The dog's teeth were visible as it panted happily. This is a German shepherd. They're descended from wolves. Another image appeared. A wolf pack hunting in snow. The aliens watched in horror as the wolves worked together to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Wolves are some of Earth's most successful predators, Jake explained. Thousands of years ago, humans domesticated them. Now we have dogs. You took apex predators, Professor Zelax said slowly, and brought them into your homes? Pretty much, Jake grinned. We also did it with cats. Want to see? Without waiting for an answer, he showed images of house cats. Then he showed their wild relatives, tigers, leopards, and panthers. Each image made the aliens more uncomfortable. Even our small cats are hunters, Jake continued. They kill billions of small animals every year. Birds, mice, lizards. Cats are amazing predators. A student named Zixtar raised a trembling appendage. But why? Why would you want killers in your homes? Jake thought for a moment. They're not just killers to us, they're friends, companions, family members. We love them, and they love us back. Love? The translator struggled with this concept applied to predator-prey relationships. Yeah, dogs especially. They protect us, help us hunt, keep us company. Some dogs even save human lives. The hologram changed to show a Saint Bernard rescuing someone. From snow, a German shepherd working with police, and a golden retriever guiding a blind person. But they could turn on you at any moment, whispered Korax. They could, Jake admitted. But they don't. That's what makes the bond special. We trust each other. The aliens exchanged worried looks. This human was describing a level of risk-taking that defied all logic. Their species had spent millions of years evolving to avoid predators. Humans had apparently decided to invite them in for dinner. Professor Zelax's spots had turned completely white. I think we need to end class early today. This information requires processing. As the students filed out, many glancing nervously at Jake, the professor remained behind. He stared at the holographic display, still showing a human, child sleeping peacefully with a creature that could end its life with one bite. Humans weren't just surviving on a death world, they were befriending it. A week had passed since Jake's presentation. The alien students were still nervous around him, but they were slowly getting used to his presence. Then came the day that would live forever in Academy history. Jake entered the classroom with a special permit attached to his uniform. Professor Zelax noticed it immediately. His tentacles twitched as he read the text. Emotional support animal, approved. Jake, the professor said carefully, what does this permit mean? Oh, great news, Jake beamed. The Academy approved my request. Max can come to class with me now. Max? Several students asked at once. Before Jake could answer, the classroom door opened again. A massive brown and black creature bounded into the room. It was almost as tall as Jake's waist, with pointed ears and a long tail that swished back and forth. Its mouth was open, showing rows of sharp white teeth as it panted. Chaos erupted. Students scrambled over desks, chairs fell. Alarm beacons activated, automatically, filling the room with flashing red lights. Bleak climbed onto a light fixture. Rixtal's skin turned completely transparent, and she pressed herself against the far wall. Security! Someone screamed into their communicator. Class, 5 Predator in Building 7. The dog, because that's what it was, sat down and tilted its head, confused by all the commotion. Its tail continued wagging, hitting the floor with heavy thumps. Everyone calm down, Jake called out. This is just Max. He's my German Shepherd. Just? Squeaked Korax from behind an overturned desk. That thing could eat half the class. At that moment, Lucy Grant walked in. She was another human exchange student who had arrived a few days ago. She saw the chaos and laughed. Oh, you brought... Max, hey buddy! She walked straight to the dog and scratched behind its ears. The aliens watched in horror as the massive predator's tongue lolled out. It made a sound somewhere between a growl and a whine. Lucy responded by ruffling its fur more vigorously. Who's a good boy? She said in a high-pitched voice. Who's the best boy? Max responded by licking her face. His tongue was bigger than her hand. Professor Zelax had backed himself into a corner. His spots were flashing through every color in the visible spectrum. Please control your beast. He is controlled, Jake said, genuinely confused. Look, he's sitting. Indeed, Max was sitting. His tail was creating small windstorms as it swept the floor. Watch this, Lucy said. She held up her hand. Max, shake. The dog lifted one massive paw and placed it in her hand. The paw was equipped with claws that could easily tear through most aliens' protective layers. Now play dead. Max flopped onto his side, tongue hanging out. He looked ridiculous, but the aliens weren't fooled. They could see the powerful muscles under his fur, the size of his jaws, the predatory intelligence in his eyes. He knows tricks, Jake explained proudly. He's very well trained. I've had him since he was a puppy. You raised this creature from infancy? Professor Zelax managed to ask. Yep, he used to be tiny. Could fit in my hands. Jake made a cupping motion to demonstrate. The mental image of this monster as a baby broke something in several students' minds. Their species had no concept of raising predators from birth. Lucy threw a ball she pulled from her pocket. Max, fetch! The dog exploded into motion. He crossed the classroom in 2 bounds, grabbed the ball, and bounded back. His movement scattered papers and knocked over more chairs. Students shrieked and dove for cover. Good boy, Lucy praised, taking the now slobber-covered ball. Security finally arrived. 3 heavily armed guards in protective suits. They stopped. In the doorway, weapons raised. Stand down, Jake called out. He's my emotional support animal. I have a permit. The guards looked at each other, then at their commander through their helmet displays. After a moment, they lowered their weapons and backed away slowly. Maybe, Professor Zelax suggested weakly, we should have class outside today. As the students gathered their things, maintaining maximum distance from Max, Jake and Lucy continued playing with the dog as if nothing unusual had happened. To them, this was just another day with man's best friend. To everyone else, it was Tuesday with a tamed nightmare. The Academy's cultural exchange program required students to visit each other's living quarters. It was meant to build understanding between species. Rixtal had been paired with Lucy Grant, the human female who seemed even more comfortable with dangerous creatures than Jake. Rixtal stood outside Lucy's dormitory door, her transparent skin flickering with nervous colors. She had prepared herself mentally for days. Humans lived with predators. She knew this. She could handle it. Lucy opened the door with a warm smile. "Come in. I'm so excited to show you around." The room looked normal at first. Bed, desk, computer, terminal, pictures on the wall. Then Rixtal heard it. A soft sound like tiny knives being sharpened. Her survival instincts screamed danger. 3 pairs of glowing eyes stared at her from the darkness under the bed. "Oh, don't mind them," Lucy said cheerfully. "That's just Oscar, Bella, and Milo. They're a bit shy with strangers." One of the creatures emerged slowly. It was covered in orange fur, with pointed ears and a long tail that moved like a snake. Its eyes were fixed on Rixtal with the intensity of a hunter studying prey. "These are my cats," Lucy explained, reaching down to pet the orange one. "Come, say hello." Rixtal's skin turned completely transparent, revealing her racing purple heart. The creature, the cat, walked toward her with silent steps. Every movement spoke of evolutionary perfection in stalking and killing. I cannot," Rixtal whispered. "Those are predators." "Well, technically, yes," Lucy admitted. "But they're sweethearts. Watch." She picked up a small toy mouse and tossed it. Instantly, all 3 cats exploded into action. They pounced, clawed, and bit the toy with frightening efficiency. One cat grabbed it and shook it violently, demonstrating how it would break a real animal's neck. Rixtal backed against the "Well, they are practicing murder." "They're just playing," Lucy laughed. "Cats need to hunt, it's in their nature." A black cat approached Rixtal, sniffing curiously. Its whiskers twitched as it evaluated this new being. Suddenly, it jumped onto a nearby shelf, putting it at eye level with the terrified alien. "See? Bella likes you," Lucy said. Bella stared unblinking at Rixtal, then slowly extended one paw. Razor-sharp claws emerged. The cat patted Rixtal's arm gently, retracting its claws just before contact. "She's being friendly," Lucy explained. "If she wanted to hurt you, she would." This was not comforting. Rixtal's species had evolved as prey animals. Every instinct told her these creatures were evaluating her as food. The third cat, a gray tabby, demonstrated its hunting prowess by leaping impossibly high to catch a floating dust particle. It twisted in midair with a flexibility that defied physics. "How do you sleep?" Rixtal asked weakly. "They could kill you in your sleep." Lucy picked up the gray cat and cradled it like a baby. The cat purred, a sound like a small engine. "They sleep with me, actually. Oscar usually curls up on my pillow." "On your head?" Rixtal's voice rose several octaves. "Sure. And Bella sleeps on my chest, and Milo takes the foot of the bed. Sometimes I wake up and can't move because they're all on top of me." Rixtal made a sound her translator couldn't process. The image of being pinned down by predators while unconscious was beyond horrifying. "Want a pet one?" Lucy offered, holding out the purring gray cat. "No!" Rixtal practically shouted. Then, more quietly, no thank you, I should go. Cultural exchange fulfilled." As she backed toward the door, the orange cat followed her, tail high. It rubbed against her leg, leaving orange fur on her. "Uniform? Aw, Oscar marked you as a friend." Lucy beamed. "That means he accepts you." Rixtal fled. In her report to Professor Zelax, she recommended updating the Academy's threat assessment. Humans didn't just keep dangerous pets, they slept with them. They let hunters claim them as property. The cultural exchange program would need major revisions and possibly trauma counseling for the participants. Professor Zelax thought he had found a solution. After the incidents with snakes, dogs, and cats, he needed to show his students that not all Earth creatures were terrifying. The human embassy had an aquarium that displayed safe Earth marine life. Surely water creatures would be less threatening. The class gathered in front of the embassy, where Jake and Lucy joined them as guides. The alien students seemed more relaxed. Water meant safety. Most dangerous predators lived on land, after all. "Welcome to Earth's ocean exhibit," Lucy announced as they entered. The first tank contained colorful fish swimming peacefully among coral. The aliens relaxed visibly. These creatures were beautiful, harmless. "These are tropical fish," Jake explained. They live in warm waters near the equator. The students moved closer, their fear fading. Some even pressed their sensory organs against the glass. Then they reached the next exhibit. The tank was massive, stretching from floor to ceiling. Inside, a dark shape moved with terrible grace. As it turned, rows of triangular teeth became visible. The creature was longer than 2 students laid end to end. And this, Jake said proudly, is a great white shark. Every alien student jumped back. Bleak's fur stood straight up. Rixtal became so transparent she nearly disappeared. "That's a fish?" Corax whimpered. "One of our most successful predators," Lucy added cheerfully. "They've existed for millions of years, basically unchanged. Perfect killing machines." The shark swam closer to the glass, its black eyes empty of anything resembling mercy. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing rows upon rows of serrated teeth. "It can smell blood from miles away," Jake continued. "And those teeth? They never stop growing. When one falls out, another moves forward to replace it." Professor Zalax's spots turned, a color that didn't exist in human vision. "And humans swim in the same water as these creatures?" "Oh yeah," Jake grinned. "My uncle is a marine biologist. He studies sharks up close. Sometimes he goes diving with them." "On purpose?" several students asked simultaneously. "For science," Jake nodded. "He says they're misunderstood. Most shark species don't attack humans." "Most?" Zixtar squeaked. Lucy pointed to a smaller tank nearby. "Those are baby sharks, aren't they cute?" The baby sharks were indeed smaller, but they already had the dead eyes and sharp teeth of their parents. They moved with the same predatory efficiency. People swim with these voluntarily," Professor Zalax said slowly, trying to understand. "For fun? And research," Lucy added. "Want to see the octopus? They're really smart." Before anyone could object, she led them to another tank. Inside was a creature with 8 arms covered in suction cups. It changed colors as they watched, blending with its surroundings. "They can squeeze through any space larger than their beak," Lucy explained. "They're escape artists, super intelligent. Some people keep them as pets." "What doesn't your species keep as pets?" Rixtal asked weakly. The tour continued. They saw moray eels with their needle teeth, lionfish with venomous spines, and jellyfish that could kill with a touch. Each exhibit further convinced the aliens that Earth's oceans were just as deadly as its land. "Oh, and here's my favorite," Jake exclaimed at the final tank. Inside was what looked like a harmless flat fish lying on sand. "This is a stingray. See that barb on its tail? It's venomous, but they're actually quite gentle if you don't step on them." "Steve, my neighbor, has a pet stingray," Lucy mentioned, casually. "He built a huge tank in his living room." The aliens had stopped responding. They simply stared in horrified silence. As they left the aquarium, Professor Zalax made a decision. The Academy would need to create a new course, Understanding Human Risk Assessment, because clearly humans had no concept of danger whatsoever. "Next week," Jake called out cheerfully, "we can visit the reptile house. They have the most amazing collection of venomous snakes." Half the class decided to call in sick for the next week. The final project for Professor Zalax's class required students to present about their species' relationship with nature. Most aliens showed how their civilizations had built barriers between themselves and dangerous creatures. Then it was time for Jake and Lucy's presentation. The lights dimmed as Jake started the holographic display. "Today we'll explain how humans domesticated predators," he announced. The first image showed a wolf pack hunting in deep snow. Their coordinated movements and sharp teeth made several students shudder. "About 30,000 years ago," Lucy began, "wolves started following human camps. They ate our scraps. Slowly, some wolves became less afraid of humans. The hologram shifted to show early humans sitting around a fire with wolf-like creatures nearby. The friendliest wolves had puppies. Over generations, they changed." "You're saying," Professor Zalax interrupted, "that you deliberately bred apex predators?" "Exactly," Jake beamed. We made them our partners. Watch this. The display showed the evolution from wolf to dog in fast motion. The creatures became smaller, though still terrifyingly large to the aliens. Their snouts shortened and their ears flopped over. But it wasn't just wolves, Lucy continued. This is a wildcat from Africa. An image of a fierce-looking wildcat appeared, hissing with needle-sharp teeth. These cats started hunting mice near human grain stores. The humans who tolerated cats had less pest damage. So the cats trained you to accept them? Rixtel asked, fascinated despite her fear. Pretty much, Lucy laughed. Cats basically domesticated themselves. They chose to live with us. The presentation continued with image after image that horrified the alien students. Children hugging, massive dogs, families with multiple cats sleeping on their furniture, people riding horses, prey animals that could kill with a single kick. This is my cousin Sarah, Jake said, showing a video of a small girl playing with a dog larger than herself. The dog was clearly being gentle, but its size and teeth were still visible. She's had Bruno since she was 3. Bleak fainted. And here's something really cool, Lucy added. The hologram showed a man swimming with a massive striped cat. This is a tiger sanctuary. Some people dedicate their lives to caring for big cats that can't survive in the wild. That creature could eat him, Korax exclaimed. It could, Lucy agreed, but it doesn't, because they've built trust. The final part of their presentation showed statistics, number of households with pets, types of animals kept as companions, even exotic pets like snakes, spiders, and monitor lizards. On Earth, Jake concluded, we believe animals make our lives better. Yes, they can be dangerous, but the bond we form is worth the risk. But why? Professor Zalax asked. Why take such risks? Lucy thought for a moment. Because they're family. When you love something, you accept all of it, even the dangerous parts. She showed one last video, a soldier reuniting with his dog after months away. The dog knocked the man over in excitement, licking his face while the man laughed and cried simultaneously. That's what we mean by man's best friend, Jake said softly. The classroom was silent. The alien students struggled to process what they'd seen. Their entire evolutionary history had taught them to avoid predators. Humans had looked at the same creatures and thought, I want that to sleep in my bed. Your species, Zixtar said, finally, turned your greatest threats into your closest companions. This is either the most brilliant survival strategy in the galaxy or complete insanity. Maybe it's both, Lucy grinned. After class, several students approached Professor Zelax. They requested sedatives for their anxiety. Others wanted to transfer to different classes. A few asked if the academy offered therapy for culture shock. The professor himself spent the evening updating the academy's files on humans. Under unique characteristics, he wrote, forms emotional bonds with creatures that could easily kill them. Considers this normal. The galaxy would never understand humans, but perhaps that was what made them so fascinating. Professor Zelak sat in his office, staring at the reports scattered across his desk. The semester was almost over, and he still couldn't understand humans. He had requested a private meeting with Jake and Lucy to discuss something that had been bothering him. The 2 humans arrived right on time, looking curious. Max the German Shepherd followed Jake while Lucy carried a small container with one of her cats. Thank you for coming, Professor Zelax began. His spots were a calm blue today, showing he wasn't afraid anymore. I need to understand something before you graduate. Sure, Professor, Jake said, settling into a chair. Max lay down at his feet. Your species confuses me, the professor admitted. Every other civilization in the galaxy evolved by avoiding predators. You did the opposite. Why? Lucy leaned forward. Can I tell you a story? The professor nodded. When I was 6, Lucy began, I got lost in the woods near my home. It was getting dark and I was scared. Then I heard growling. Professor Zelax's tentacles twitched. A predator found you. A wolf, Lucy confirmed. But my dog, Rosie, was with me. She was just a golden retriever, not bred for fighting. But she stood between me and that wolf. Jake picked up the story. Dogs will die protecting. They're humans. Cats might seem selfish, but I've seen them attack threats to their families too. But they're still predators, the professor insisted. They have instincts to kill. They do, Jake agreed. But they also have instincts to protect their pack. When we made them family, we became their pack. Lucy opened the container, and her cat Oscar stepped out. Instead of exploring the office, the cat immediately jumped into her lap and began purring. Fear keeps you alive, Lucy said, stroking Oscar. But fear also keeps you alone. Humans chose connection over isolation. We were prey once too, Jake added. Small, weak compared to other animals, but we learned that together we were stronger. First with other humans, then with animals. Professor Zalax watched as Max lifted his head, checking on Jake before settling back down. The dog's eyes were alert, watching the door, protecting his human even in this safe space. Your presentation showed children with dangerous animals, the professor said. Aren't you afraid for them? Of course, Lucy replied. That's why we teach them respect, how to read animal body language, when to approach and when to give space. But the risk, life is risk, Jake interrupted gently. We could stay in sterile boxes, never touching anything dangerous, but what kind of life is that? The professor's spots shifted to a thoughtful yellow. So you see beauty in danger? We see potential, Lucy corrected. Every wolf could become a loyal guardian. Every wildcat could become a loving companion. We look at predators and see future friends. Oscar demonstrated this by reaching up to touch Lucy's face with one paw, claws carefully retracted. The gesture was gentle, affectionate. Humans are strange, Jake admitted. We take creatures that could kill us and trust them with our children. We share our homes with hunters and our beds with predators. But in return we get loyalty beyond measure. And love, Lucy added. Real, genuine love. Professor Zalax thought about his own species. They had achieved space travel by being cautious, by eliminating risks. Humans had achieved it while bringing their predator friends along. I think I understand now, he said slowly. You didn't conquer your world by fighting nature. You conquered it by making nature your ally. Exactly, both humans said together. As the meeting ended, Professor Zalax made a final note in his research. Humans succeed not despite their dangerous relationships, but because of them. They turn predators into protectors, fear into friendship. This may be their greatest evolutionary advantage. Walking back to his quarters that evening, the professor found himself wondering what it would be like to trust something dangerous. To look at a predator and see a friend, he wasn't ready for that. His species might never be. But now at least he understood why humans did it, and somehow, that made them less terrifying and more remarkable. The end of semester ceremony was different this year. For the first time, the Galactic Academy had graduated humans. Jake and Lucy stood among their alien classmates, wearing the traditional graduation robes with Max and Oscar present as special, permitted guests. Professor Zalax approached the podium. His spots glowed with pride as he looked at his students. They had all survived the most challenging semester in Academy history. This year, he began, we learned more than facts and theories. We learned about courage, trust, and the different ways species view the universe. In the audience, Rixtal sat next to Bleak and Korax. They still kept their distance from Max, but they no longer activated emergency beacons when they saw him. Our human students taught us something valuable, the professor continued, that sometimes the most dangerous path leads to the strongest bonds. After the ceremony, something unexpected happened. Zixtar, the most cautious student in class, approached Jake. In his trembling appendages, he held a small gift. I made this for Max, he said quietly. It was a collar with the Academy's symbol, specially designed to fit Earth dogs. Jake's eyes widened. You made this? For Max? Zixtar's skin flushed purple with embarrassment. I still think your pets are terrifying, but I respect your courage in loving them. Nearby, Lucy was showing Oscar to a group of curious alien graduates. The cat sat calmly in her arms, watching the aliens with typical feline superiority. "May I touch it?" asked a young Venlaxian student. "Sure," Lucy smiled. "Just move slowly." The student extended one tentacle and barely brushed Oscar's fur. The cat didn't attack or hiss, it simply blinked slowly. "It's soft," the student said with wonder. Professor Zelax watched these interactions with amazement. A few months ago, his students would have fled screaming. Now they were making cautious contact with Earth predators. The biggest surprise came from Administrator Crix, the head of the academy. She floated over to Jake and Lucy with an official document. "We've decided to create a new course," she announced. "Deathworlder Psychology and the Domestication Paradox. We'd like you both to return as guest lecturers." "Really?" Lucy gasped. "Yes, but there's one condition." Administrator Crix's sensory fronds twitched nervously. "Could you, perhaps, start with less dangerous creatures? Maybe something small?" Jake and Lucy exchanged glances and burst out laughing. "Actually," Jake said, "we were thinking of bringing hamsters next time. They're tiny, furry, and mostly harmless." "Mostly?" several aliens asked together. "Well, they do bite sometimes," Lucy admitted, "but only if you scare them." The aliens looked relieved. Finally, a pet that sounded manageable. Later that evening, the Academy held its first interspecies social event. To everyone's surprise, Max became the center of attention. Students who had once fled from him now watched curiously as he performed tricks for treats. "Sit," Jake commanded. Max sat. "Lie down." Max lay down. "Play dead." Max rolled onto his back. The aliens applauded with various appendages. Even Professor Zelax found himself impressed by the display of training and trust. As the event wound down, Rixtel approached Lucy one last time. "I still don't understand how you sleep with predators," she said. "But I think I understand why you try." Lucy smiled. "Want to visit Earth someday? We have animal sanctuaries where you can see all kinds of creatures." Rixtel shuddered but nodded. "Maybe, if I can bring protective gear." The semester ended with a new entry in the Academy's official guide. Humans, the species that looked at the galaxy's deadliest creatures and asked, "Can I pet that?" Their survival strategy appears to be aggressive friendship. Professor Zelax kept a photo on his desk, his entire class, including Jake with Max and Lucy with Oscar. It reminded him that sometimes the most important lessons come from the students. And somewhere in the galaxy, other aliens were hearing stories about the Deathworlders who made friends with monsters. Some were horrified. Some were intrigued, but all of them wondered, what else might be possible if fear could transform into friendship? The Academy's next semester had triple the usual applications. Everyone wanted to meet the humans and their terrifying, wonderful pets.